Problem number 3 on our log study guide. We have this function f of x equals 5x squared minus 4, and we want to write the inverse of this function. So we've talked about two methods to do this. The first method we introduced was the tunnel method, but then we kind of, evolved to our second method, which was merely swapping our x and y values and then solving for y. We've talked a lot about the relationship between functions and their inverses. We've talked about it with a data table. We've said, well, if we have a table of x, y values and we want to go from that to our inverse function, all you got to do is swap your x and y values. So all your x values become y values, and all your y values become x values. So data table, that would look like that. Well, the concept we found out is the same for graphs too. If you have some function and you want to find the inverse function, all you have to do is reflect it across the line y equals x, which is that diagonal line I drew right there. So clearly, very strong relationship between swapping those x and y values, because that's what you're doing when you reflect across that line. But here's the kicker: it works for functions too. All we got to do is swap the x and y values in our function, and we will have found our inverse. But here's the thing: notice that this does not have a y in it, this function. This is in function notation, f of x, but that's no different than saying y equals 5x squared minus 4. So that's going to be our first move. Rewrite that with a y. Now swap our x and y values so we get x equals 5y squared minus 4. Literally just swapped x and y. Didn't change anything else about my function. Now, at this point, this function does represent the inverse, but we need to solve it for y. So just follow the order of operations in reverse. What do we need to do first? Well, we have minus 4, so let's add 4 to both sides. And we get x plus 4 equals 5y squared. Well, we're still just trying to get y by itself, so our next move, before we can do anything else, is going to have to be dividing by 5. So divide both sides by 5, and you should get x plus 4 over 5 equals y squared. Well, last step, we have y squared and we want y, so take the square root of both sides. Now notice, on the left, I'm taking the square root of everything that is currently there. So that x plus 4 divided by 5, that whole thing is underneath the square root sign. Last step, just rewrite this. Y equals the square root of x plus 4 divided by 5. And we're done. That's our inverse function. And you can write that f inverse of x equals our function, the square root of x plus 4 divided by 5. And notice I put a box for you to put your answer in that already says f inverse of x. And that's it. We're done.